Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NCOIL One-on-One. With us here today is Oklahoma Representative Ellyn Hefner. Representative Hefner, thank you so much for joining us for this month's NCOIL One-on-One interview.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you. So let's hop right in here. Can you tell us how you first got involved in public service?
I'm new here, so this is my second session. I was elected in 2022.
Nice. So you've done a lot of work on disability rights, and it's spanned from, your personal advocacy for your child, now obviously in the legislature, working on those issues. How has your personal experience brought that over into the work that you're doing now?
It's different. It's definitely different. Knocking on these doors on the outside, and trying to figure out what's happening behind those doors. I used to ask a lot of questions about budget, and trying to figure that out, and took years to sort of figure it out as I thought that we were figuring it out. But behind these doors, it's different. I think the number one thing that I came in with was, as an advocate, learning how to build relationships. And I think that that is the best thing to do up here, is to get to know the people you serve with, get to know their families, get to know the staff that works here. And my first session I met a lot of people and built relationships. And so now, having people believe you, and especially if it's about disability, I have to make sure that everything I say is going to help their constituents or my constituents and families. And so, building that trust, that now I get calls about it too. How can you help me? And in other parts of the state. So that's really great. So that long answer to your short question, is the same advocacy skills, relationship building, all of that happens behind these office doors.
That's great. And so obviously you mentioned you're new. That's obviously a passionate issue that you're working on. What other issues have you been working on in your time so far in the legislature?
There are, there's a lot of stuff to do with the disability world. Tiny things that we can fix. Family, a family assistance support payment that we give out has not been looked at in 30 years. And we talk about inflation. Well, those families that, new families that are having kids, that we can help with some respite or child care for someone who has a child with a disability is expensive. So trying to see if we can make those a little bit more modern, update those. That's just one example. I can bring up 14C licenses, and maybe one person that is watching this show, this interview, may know, out of the thousands that watch it, one person may know what a 14C license is. So think about that. If you're going to go look at it, because I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it has to do with the disability world. And so how do we look to support families whose kids, adult children, are working with 14C licenses in place? And so it's going to take a little bit. I can't wait till, someday I can start protecting the monarchs here in Oklahoma with keeping up milkweed. Those are real important things too. But for now, disability has kept me pretty focused. I do get a lot of questions, since I'm a financial advisor, that I do get a lot of questions, not relating to some people's bills who are running legislation that may affect my license as well. So it's nice to keep busy behind the scenes. This process is very long, and it can take a couple of years. But and then serving on the insurance committee is really nice, that we have robust conversation. There's with some of the legislation we're seeing, and it's helpful, very helpful, to have been to a couple of NCOIL conferences, to have something to lean on there, instead of just saying, I don't like it, it doesn't feel like it's going to work. Is it going to work? And so it's nice that NCOIL's there to help, that I can lean on for some of those answers.
That's great. So if the life of a legislator isn't busy enough, you also mentioned you're a financial advisor. I know you've owned a small business. How do you kind of apply those unique perspectives as you're kind of working through policy and legislature now?
Yes, I did. My late husband and I had a small business, and there's a lot of lessons learned. We talk about small businesses a lot here. So I, I take that experience that I have and listen, and serving on committees to give my input or is a good idea. I think experience really goes a long way. I have a variety of experiences, but the financial advisor is an also good thing to know about. When we talk about budget, there's an understanding about bonds, number one, that we hear people talking about, but maybe they're reading from a paper. So it's nice to know the applications for those and how they really work in our cities, towns, and government.
That's great. So sounds like you're very busy in Oklahoma, but moving on, how did you first hear about NCOIL and how did you get involved?
Well, in our state, the great state of Oklahoma, we have an excellent insurance commissioner, Glenn Mulready, and Commissioner Mulready is, I mean, he was a representative before, and he uh, insurance. He was his employment was with insurance, and so he comes with such a knowledge to that position that he really encouraged me to start going to NCOIL. Not because he thought that it would be fun, but he thought that it would be a good idea for me to, since that was part of my world as well. Um, and it'd be good for me to go and to learn a bit more, as I did with disability policy and how it grows and the history of it. Coming over to NCOIL, he's like, we do that over here too, which I just nerd out on. And then to have another representative that I serve with, and a really good friend of mine now, Representative Bennett, that he was like, well, I've been here before, and I can introduce you and introduce you to other people, which has helped me get to know what other states are doing. We talk about that quite a bit, but until you meet a legislator that may be in the minority party, but an opposite party of mine in a different state, there's such great robust conversation outside of what we do at NCOIL with our committee work. So it was a natural hook for me with Commissioner Mulready. And then to have Representative Bennett be so kind and introduce me to people, I really got started on knowing a lot of people across the US.
Commissioner Mulready, great friend of the organization. We're very happy to have a strong Oklahoma delegation always attending our meetings, so that's great. How would you describe your overall experience coming to NCOIL, getting involved, being at meetings, things like that?
It's all about relationships again. There were people I met that you can connect the dots if you're willing to listen and if you're willing to tell your story, whatever story that is or experience. And most people ask, why did you run? Why would you run for a state representative? And I mean, this wasn't a dream job of mine. It wasn't something that I wanted to do when I was young. It just happened to play into a part of my life that I thought that, we can do some work together. With NCOIL, that's really nice where the professional converges with the state rep job and with policy. And so it's really um, a great conversation with other people, and then they find out your experience, and then you start making some friends from different states. I just think NCOIL is a very smart way and an excellent example of how we should look at policy, vetting policies, having other states look at it. It's just brilliant. And so I think it's really nice too that a lot of us who go to NCOIL have already had an experience with insurance or a license or something, that we can really look at ourselves and pull against some maybe clients that we have or people that we know that maybe it's been a good or adverse effect with some of the things that we have that's ongoing right now that we have in law. So I just think it's smart conversation with a lot of friendship and people that are really hoping to work together, and that's excellent, especially in this day and age.
That's great to hear. So you're somewhat unique where you attended your first NCOIL meeting within your first year in the legislature, something we'd love to see more of. How do you think,
I didn't
do you
know
have
that
any,
was unique. I didn't know
yeah.
that was unique.
So do you have any words of encouragement for new legislators coming in these new sessions about getting involved in organizations like NCOIL and things like that?
There is a lot of push for, you get all these flyers in the mail for that to go to different conferences. And those were all very, they were nice to look at, but I really thought that it's good, especially maybe with my experience with disability policy, it's really good to work within that scope. Like, just take that big bite, which insurance is huge, but to just work on that with others that want to work on it. And that was more attractive to me. Going to conferences like I've done in my professional career, where there's so many things that you're talking about, and you may take something away that may or may not be able to work in your state, was not attractive to me. I don't think that that's, I mean, I feel I have a limited amount of time here in Oklahoma, not about term limits, but maybe my age, maybe there's, I don't know. I just feel like once I'm here, I just want to try to see how well we can do this job. And NCOIL seemed to be that perfect fit for me, with the way the conferences are run and the very small scope of what we're doing. That was definitely, like I said before, more attractive. And I don't know who, I can't even remember who really told me. It might have been Bennett that said something. I don't know, you. But I saw the invitation, and I think I asked Mulready about it, and he says, no, you should go to this right away. So that was
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
So from a policy perspective, is there any issues you want to see NCOIL take on in the year ahead?
Oh gosh, I think we're still trying to take care of some of the stuff. I mean, it looks like here in Oklahoma, we're trying to keep up with some of the things that other states are doing. So for me, it's just to try to put some of those things in place. Mental health is, and I don't talk about it enough. I did sort of mention it at a conference, but I think we really need to do better with maybe a parity. I hear people so often talk about, when you go to a doctor and you break your leg, and I mean, it's not the same when we're talking about mental health. And so we really need to try to figure out how, when someone comes and needs some help and has insurance, how do we serve them best? And remove some of those barriers that can really get to the heart of what patients need. I think that would be something that is gonna probably work out sooner than later, because I think that as a country, and our state especially, we need some help with that. I do think AI is, we talk about it, and we have talked about it at a couple of conferences, but I really think we have to push to do something, come out with something sooner, because I know here in our legislature, we've already heard a bill talking about AI. And for me, since maybe I've been raised on NCOIL now, I'm like, wait, we don't know how this is going to affect other things. I think we're not saying it's bad. We really need to talk about it, but I think that maybe that should be another big push, that we maybe do a side committee conference, weekend, I don't know, stay at the Hamptons. I'm just talking to you because you arrange these, with smart people across the US that can really sit down and do a boot camp on addressing that, instead of taking longer to vet things. I think that should be something we look up really quick.
Those are definitely two very timely issues, so we'll definitely be looking at those in the year ahead. So based on your service in Oklahoma, have you seen partisanship having an effect on insurance, as you've seen with other issues and other legislative bodies? How's that relationship?
Listen, always has an effect these days. The good thing is, like I said, if behind the scenes, I would say 90% of the things that we do in the chamber we all agree on. It's 10%, and insurance may be a part of that. But with our committee, I believe everyone that serves on our insurance committee has an insurance license, and that is definitely different when you're talking about things that you actually, live, work, are employed by, all those things that it could affect our licenses, or we know how that some of those small things that we do affect people and policies. So I think that I think that partisanship is outside the walls. You see it in the press, but behind, especially in our small insurance committee, the rest of the chamber trusts us that we are doing the job that we were elected for, and a professional job as well. So we just had a committee last week, and there was a lot of questions and conversations. And if it wasn't, there was a bill that was run that NCOIL, it was model language, and with some additions on it. And a lot of us were like, we don't really care for that addition. So there were PCSs filed and removed, and so we have the basic NCOIL model language that we probably should have started off with. But all that to say, I think working together, all through all those bills, we were all talking in the halls. And Forrest and I, since we are in our caucus, our party together, we always talk about the bills that we'll see the next day, the day before. We might have some sort of drink or soda, pop, water, something to talk about outside of the Capitol. And that builds good relations too, because we count on each other, but now other people in the committee will ask us questions as well. So I don't see it in the committee, and I know maybe that's not the answer you wanted or want, but I think that I don't know, I think that we do a good job about working together, especially in insurance.
Well, that's very positive and reassuring for the citizens. So that's great to hear.
I mean, like I said, we're lucky. Lucky, or just have enough people with licenses that have, made a living with it. That it's important. It's important to keep our livelihood, and it's also important to know how the system works. That we have all these questions and work together.
That's great. So naturally, we've discussed some of the positives about NCOIL, but there's of course always things we want to keep improving on. As somebody with kind of a fresh perspective, what would you like to see change or kind of grow going forward?
Oh gosh. I like that I like that the conference is during the week, so don't change that.
Okay.
It's nice. This is so don't change that. I went to a couple of conferences over the weekend, and it sets you up if you're in session. It's not a good thing. I don't know. I like the size of it. I think I love industry people there. Some of them I don't get to talk to normally, so that's always interesting. I like that we talk about financial services as well. I think that that's important, that you have included in that. I think that's a good thing. I like the places that you guys have gone to that I've been. That's nice. And I think probably that's one of the things that people bring up the most is where to go. I mean, we go into Hawaii. I met someone at another conference, an insurance guy from Alaska, and that seemed like a pretty interesting place. And that too was so different. What they're concerned with in their world, we really don't have. And so I think that perspective is so helpful in the work that we do. I really do. So I guess I didn't give you any help there. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. And we got Nashville coming up, so another great location in April, so that'll be good. So before we let you go, we have a lightning round of questions. These are our real hard-hitting questions. If you're ready, can you tell us your favorite all-time movie?
I have a lot of movies I like, but the one that I just watched recently again was Barefoot in the Park.
Good to know. All right, favorite all-time food?
Sushi.
Great answer.
And
Favorite book or author?
I love John Irving. Martin Amis is another author I like.
Nice. Song or musical artist?
Oh gosh, I'm diverse. Aretha, Frank Sinatra, B-52s and the Ramones.
That does sound very diverse, so I'll give you that. Favorite all-time
Flaming
TV
Lips.
show?
Oh, Arrested Development. That one I can
I
watch over
have
and
to
over.
100% agree with you on that one. And three dinner party guests, living or dead.
Um, Clara Luper. She just has done so much, and if you don't know Clara Luper, you really need to read about her history. Eleanor Roosevelt. Love that strong woman. And then Sophia Loren.
Great answers. All right, this wraps up this month's NCOIL one-on-one interview with Oklahoma Representative Ellyn Hefner. Representative Hefner, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Enjoyed talking with you.